of the blitzing speed other players do, but it is very tricky and well planned. And that's why this player down here may be a little paranoid going into this match, representing Team Liquid, the bottom left side, the red Terran. It's Clem.
And we do have in the top right-hand corner our blue Zerg from Alpha X, RagnaroK.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting to see exactly how he kind of plays it through, because RagnaroK did so many roach pushes in that last season and of the map pool, but it's a bigger map pool, number one. Number two, whenever I asked European players about why they didn't try RagnaroK's builds, they said, doesn't work on Clem. He's too good. His micro is too good. He doesn't need to see it coming. He'll pull up that ramp, he'll micro his heart out, and the roaches just won't get the damage.
Yeah, Clem is such a difficult player to play against in that aspect because he is able to just negate sometimes a lack of scouting, sometimes that lack of information. He's just able to react so well in the moment, and again, that control is really just there. So, tough player to play against, and I do think, especially on LAN, you know, we talk a lot about kind of Clem. TVZ used to be like the best, right? And it's definitely, you know, taking a bit of a hit here and there. He's not unbeatable anymore.
Yeah.
But I feel like you put Clem on LAN, on TVZ, and especially against the Koreans, his chances do go up a bit because it's such a micro-focused style that is punished a little bit when they have to play on North America, you know?
Absolutely. Historically, his problem has always been when players backstab him, don't let him get going. We've seen it Protoss. I remember when the first time we saw Clem have the biggest hopes on his shoulders a couple years ago, I think it was 2021 Katowice, where Zest stopped him in the round of 8. And it felt like Clem, whenever they were on an even footing, was doing really well. But Zest was like just, you know, Observer would see him move out, Big Zealot backstab comes in. Observer sees him moves out, comes in with DT backstab. And it was those sort of moves in all the matchups, like Dark, massive win rate versus Clem. He was the one who ended Clem's dominant streak in TVZ. He won like 50 best of series in a row. And then Dark figured that out. So I don't think RagnaroK's just going to be doing roach shoves this game. I think he's going to be doing a lot of like backstabs and trying to kind of be greedy if he can get Clem to overreact and turtle up a little bit.
Absolutely, as we start up on Royal Blood as well, and there's going to be seen our Reaper now here to start dancing with those first few Zerglings. Of course, this was absent from the first TVZ of the day. A 2-Rax, a CC first. First little bit of Reaper versus Ling action, and Clem and RagnaroK both microed very well. Ling's hiding up the ramp, they take quite a few shots. The Reaper takes pretty much all the damage it can, and just trying to check the front, see if there's anything extra.
He goes for the front third base, does RagnaroK. I do imagine he takes the fourth up to the left, but he could do that, you know, older style where you just kind of expand down the right side of the map, really focus on pushing the creep there as much as you can. And behind it, Clem, this is a big surprise. He's building a third command center, Wardy. Who would have ever thought? The build Clem does almost every single game.
The Clem build, no way. Yeah, he really does just love, like, you know, versatility's not his thing in this matchup because it doesn't need to be. He's so confident in just multitasking and getting set up well. And once he's set up well to multitask, he just multitasks and tries to win the game that way. So maybe one of the things he lacks is sometimes the aggression. But sometimes it feels like when he's aggressive, it's like, oh, that doesn't work. Clem, why didn't you just try to play the macro game? Why didn't you just get the economy to be awesome, you know?
You know, I kind of think there's a bit of a correlation between when he stopped playing Widow Mines every game and also when his TVZ stopped being quite as intimidating. Because I think if you play a Biomine style, yeah, it's obviously, you know, you can't defend certain attacks as well. People were catching him out with big roach shoves. But there was a period where he went so tank-focused for such a long period, and it felt like it didn't give him the same ability to out-multitask his opponents because those tanks just lack the mobility. You're often doing a single push rather than pushing two flanks of the map at the same time. So I would like to see him start this series off with Widow Mines and really get back into that mode.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely with you. I feel like that would just be very just set up everywhere, right? Be everywhere and make it difficult for RagnaroK to stay on top of absolutely everything. I think I'm 100% with you there. Is there's just going to be Banshee to start. Obviously, what Clem likes to do because it keeps him safe. It guarantees him that opportunity, and he's so good. I always say, like, retention of units, right? Whether it's a Medivac drop, whether it's a Liberator, whether it's Cloak Banshees, he's so good at keeping these alive. Even if they don't do a lot early, they can put some pressure on a fourth base. They can show up way later in the game and deny a run by some creep spread. You know, it's not bad for Clem to open Banshees here. Even if there isn't anything immediately aggressive coming, they're still going to be great for him.
And Zergs like to shut those units down. You know, you build 20 Zerglings, surround the Hellions when they dive, bam, snap over, get to focus on my macro again. A Terran that does that is very annoying to play against. And just poking around, seeing if he can find an opening. We do see Stim, double engineering bay behind it. So he will be heading on into the bio play. Banshee's not finding any damage just yet. RagnaroK's defense has been near perfect so far. A very good start for him. Hellions going to dive in, grabbing just 2 drones, getting on in and then out very quickly. I like this, just calm kind of respect from both sides. Now, personally, I do think Mutalisks are quite good on the new map pool, but because the Hydra has, of course, just taken center stage, we haven't seen a lot of Mutalisk play. But RagnaroK, he's very capable of pulling that one out in this series, so something to keep our eye on maybe 1 or 2 minutes from now is if RagnaroK's thinking about Aspire.
Do you like the mutas against Clem? Like, as a, with the way that Clem plays?
If the map's big enough, or he's playing siege tanks, I think it's fine. I think if the push path is below a certain distance and he's playing Widow Mines, it's a death sentence. Yeah. I think he'll get the parade going and you'll just never get a chance to really harass and use the mobility of the Mutalisks. But if it's a bit of a longer map, I think there's chances to really do some damage with it. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I feel like sometimes when you get the kind of the heads up against Clem as well, right, you're able to kind of stop a drop or so and then get some damage, then still get back to defend if that, like you say, rush distance long enough, as these Lings are going to be able to grab the Hellions. How many Lings can we get?
Ouch.
Yeah. Painful to lose the Hellions, really.
Yeah, that I think it always, even when you get 1 or 2 good volleys off, you're kind of like, there goes me map control for the moment. On the other hand, Stim's done, Medevac's popping out, so it's not a big window. I think the most dangerous thing is to leave a large window. Wow, good cloak timing. Gets a cancel on the 4th. But yeah, if you have a... Oh, another cancel as well. Clem, all right. He's starting to feel himself a little bit, getting loose.
These Queens went back to the Banshees, blocked the hatchery again. This has been like a 20-second delay now and a bunch of minerals wasted. We finally get it down, and this time it might actually stick. But yeah, those Banshees finding a way to just be really meaningful. I mean, delaying the 4th base, that's, twice over. RagnaroK even just going to double expand, going to take one off to the right side of the map as well. As you mentioned, the Medevacs, the Stim, our first real push of Clem beyond the Hellions is now on the map.
Taking a 5th gas, going Hydra Den. This does not seem, in my opinion, I think it's kind of dangerous to play this style against Clem, where you're sitting back and letting him take map control because of what we see him do whenever he's in these positions. On the other hand, he's going siege tanks, not Widow Mines, but the first 2 tank pushes over here on the left side of the map. Baneling speed is done. RagnaroK, I think he's got a run by in the natural, actually. Don't know if too much is getting done there, but yeah, seems like at the end of the day, that tank barely surviving.
Yeah, if you're watching that picture-in-picture, Clem having some fun pick-up micro, but needs to focus back over here. These Banelings just got too much of a jump on these Marines. He finally gets rid of them, and now he can re-engage with the 2 tanks still alive. Lings coming from the other side, but are there enough Marines any longer? Probably not. So Clem will be pushed back. That was just RagnaroK getting a bit of a jump. If Clem had pulled back just a moment sooner, I think he completely overruns that army. The Banes getting close enough was nice. Of course, still nice for Clem overall.
Got to watch out for those flanks. Zerg players getting really good at setting those up to deal with those tank pushes. But of course, an armory coming in there for Clem very late, which means the upgrades are going to get ahead for RagnaroK. That's massive delay on his 2-2. His 4th command center is slowed down as well. He's got more and more tanks and Marines coming across him. This is an interesting style because Clem clearly wants to keep fighting, but if you keep throwing your tanks away just 1 or 2 at a time, it can get nasty. Clem's first-person view, guys, seizure warning, you may get one. He is fast.
Yeah, watching Clem's stream is dizzying. It's not a stream I can stick around on for long because it is just all over the place. And he's going to start showing us that here, right, as he gets ready to go and gets powered up. We see a little Stim forward. Some creep will go down. We're setting him for a bigger fight. And tanks, you can see him already. We're setting them up and getting them in the positions, the corners that he wants them in, the ledges he's going to try and utilize in his favor. And right now, Clem's just doing what Clem does, which is just take that slight supply lead in TVT because of his multitasking thus far, and is now going to try and pressure that issue further.
Yeah, he is playing the siege tank style, but I like that he's got a reactor on the 2nd factory, so he's going a mix, and I like that. I think this is not used enough. The tank Widow Mine mix. Ooh, bit of a misclick there for Clem, but luckily saves it at the last second, pulling most of those Marines back. These Banshees so good for stopping the run-bys. Keeping those Banshees alive is the most annoying thing. Zerg players hate playing against a Terran that keeps those alive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I said earlier, retention of units. Clem's one of the very best at it, and what gives him so much success sometimes in these matchups. And Clem has these Lings absolutely cornered. There was no way out for them. He's going to get so many for free. I mean, RagnaroK tried to escape upwards, left, right, and every single way Clem was there. And that's just massive, right? 20 or so Lings go down, and it just weakens the defenses for this next Clem push.
Really nice, especially when you think about how much that 4th was delayed earlier. Good catch, though. Gets a tank. Widow Mine not getting... Oh, 2nd Widow Mine gets a pretty good hit off, though. Banshees on the high ground helping out. Got to be careful. Clem should definitely send those Banshees back, doing a much better job on the defense. These Marines running in with no medevacs nearby. A few of them get saved at the last second. You can see Clem there, lots of mouse movement. It's all about the speed, the mechanics, the multitasking for this one.
Those medevacs were actually pretty awesome, though. They actually killed 15 banelings on the right side before they moved up, so they actually did very well before they actually got shut down. So a little awkward in the end, but actually finding some good value off screen, while obviously another major fight was happening. Just so much happening on the map, which is what we expect when Clem's playing. As we see the Lings trying to come in from two sides, a little out of sync. This is where the medevacs can just give you that evacuation option. And so Clem just doesn't take it, man. He's going to stand and fight until the very end, then gets up, then does get out, and again, just maximizing every single unit he has access to.
You know, Clem famously said a few years ago that he thinks the difference between a great Terran player and a good Terran player is the ability to take fights that people don't expect you to take, to stand your ground and fight when most Terrans would just back away. So he's definitely known for taking risky engagements. Sometimes it does bite him in the butt. You know, he overextends a little bit, but there's other times you go, oh my gosh, who has the bravery to stand in front of those banelings and gun them down? And, well, he does. He's been moving. I love the right side, left side push angles that he's been doing. The Widow Mines are here, but oh, Traitor Mine!
Yeah, he was signed up to the Zerg army as he went right dead center in the middle of that Bioforce. So a little bit of a win there for RagnaroK, and RagnaroK with a bit of momentum going to come across the map, going to keep the fight going. We're going to see Widow Mines trying to layer into this Zerg army initially, and Clem kiting on two different fronts is going to end up potentially coming back around the top side, but apparently doesn't quite have the numbers there. And Clem just needs some reinforcements here to be able to shut this down. This base is in trouble. He's got mines not really doing much elsewhere too. And yeah, Clem's just kind of falling apart in a swift second, and RagnaroK gonna really lay siege to this base.
Dude, he's laying siege so bad. I mean, damn, he's already rammed the door down. He's in the third, he's in the natural as well. The depot's going down. What a sudden turnaround. It felt like Clem was playing his game and RagnaroK was maybe struggling a little to keep up, but RagnaroK found the catch on some units, and so quickly did he counterattack across the map.
Man, when you play like Clem, you have to be so perfect, right? Because it's such a fragile setup that when one moment goes wrong for you, all of a sudden, everything falls apart. And I mean, this is a frustrating day for Clem. I mean, he's 0-2 in the first match, and he's looking good. You know, matchup he likes and game, you know, second match of the day is finally looking good. He's like, okay, this is good. And then boom, RagnaroK gets that one fight, and all of a sudden, you know, 60 seconds later, the game's over.
It's all about the internal battle right now. I mean, you can see he's visibly frustrated and shaking his head, just trying to let it out a little bit. It's something where this is a turning point, because Clem already lost to Oliveira, which is always going to be a tough match. But if he loses to RagnaroK, I mean, he's still got to play Dark. He's still got to play against Cure. He's got to play against these absolute monsters. So this match is basically non-negotiable. He needs to win these next two maps, or chances of him getting out of the group are incredibly low.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really tough, right? I mean, every matchup within this group is going to be hard, but you think about Clem's TVT against Koreans, he's got Cure to come, then Dark has sometimes been his nemesis in ZVT as well. To me, you know, against Neeb, RagnaroK time, he can lose one of those matches.
Yeah.
Losing two really is like a death sentence in a group like this, so big match, big time to turn it around here for Clem. He needs to pick it up, and we're going on to Grezvan, which is map number 2, and I feel like Grezvan doesn't suit Clem's style quite as much as Royal Blood does.
I definitely want to see Widow Mines once again to open, because I think it's such a long map, it's hard to get tanks across, and there's not any super killer tank positions early on. So, that's an adorable photo, by the way. But yeah, I'd like to see the mobility and just work that hard out, because he added the Widow Mines there, and he was doing a good job of being somewhat mobile, but I definitely feel like it brings a different pace, especially if you can start Widow Mine dropping the back while working the medevac drops down the flanks of the map. You can usually do that before Hydras hit the field, and it just adds a different sort of pace. One where Clem, for a normal Terran who's even in mechanics, I'm like, I don't know if it's that great a strategy, but it's just like, it leans into his strength as a player so hard, and that's why I'd love to see it.
Well, let's see what gets going here for game number 2. We'll be in a moment. Just want to mention as well, obviously, we're not really told about it yet, but map scores are a big thing here as well. So even, you know, a 2-1 over a 2-0 could further down the line be very impactful in these round-robin groups.
Yeah, something players like Thermal and a few others know very well, who, you know, had many years where they barely missed out because of a single map difference. So every map going to matter for this man from now on. He's got to win the next 2 games in a row to win this series. In the top left side of the map, representing Team Liquid, it's Clem.
And the bottom right-hand side, he 180'd that last game in a matter of seconds. From Alpha X, it's RagnaroK.
Yeah, RagnaroK's so scary when he makes those mass banelings in the mid game, man. Like, The guy that will almost inevitably in every single Zerg versus Terran roll 50 Banelings into a Terran army, and if you're not perfectly kind of spread out and organized and stuff, then things can go wrong really, really quickly.
It really, really can as our first overlook comes out. Hatchery first, obviously Clem is not known for playing any sort of proxy racks any amount of the time in like big serious events, so...
I'd say it's like 1 in 23 maps.
1 in 23, yeah.
It's actually something where I've criticized him for it, because if you look historically at all the great Terran champions throughout StarCraft 2's history, they all have a very high percentage of proxy barracks and all-in builds mixed in. Maru, MVP, these guys in clutch tournament situations, it would always be like 1 in 3 maps, something like that. They would do a proxy racks push, and it made their opponents very nervous. There was a lot of pool first openings versus them, a lot of drone scouts. People play against Clem, and they're already thinking about 3 command centers 7 minutes into the game. It's almost a given that you're going to get to that point.
Yeah, it's about giving you the edge, right? Like, overall in the series, being able to kind of have your opponent convinced that you might do it, and then they play differently against you, as this is just going to be a bit of a copy of the first game. Reaper Expand out of Clem. He'll get that across the map. And he will SCV Scout too, just making sure this is a hatchery first. He can send his Reaper across the map safely. There's no reason to hold back and to just, you know, refrain from bringing this Reaper onto the other side.
Just 4 lings so far for RagnaroK. I like that he hasn't been building 6 lings. A lot of the players love to build the 6 lings, but RagnaroK's shown that with 4 lings, he never loses a drone. You're just good enough in your opening, you get 1 extra worker out, and he's going to look for that front third on the triangle base once again. A base which is very vulnerable to the kind of direct push path through the middle of the map. It's great to still take that base early, though, because you want to get your creep out in front of it. So it's almost like a launch pad for you getting map control into the center of the map.
Yeah. No, it's definitely one of these maps where if you can get control of the center, it's really quite easy to keep it. But if you don't, then there's a lot of ledges you've got to work against, and very tough to then kind of do that. So that's one of the things we might see Clem take advantage of further down the line is, yeah, surprise, surprise pick. We're back to that 3cc.
It's a pretty long map, so he might not be too worried about roaches or anything. I wouldn't mind seeing a Hellion Lib.
Yep.
I do think the Liberator is now 25 gas cheaper, and it was always one of Clem's best units. The number of times I've seen him reposition that Lib 4 or 5 times, goes home in red, repairs it up, comes back, and does way more damage. Like, he's had some ridiculous Liberators in his Terran vs. Zerg matches.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As the Rocharon is on the way, though, from RagnaroK, so maybe this is a great call from RagnaroK, right? Bit of a longer rush distance, and you're like, well, guess what? Gonna go Roaches. You went Banshees last game. If you don't do it again, you could just be in for a quick 2-0 victory.
Could even hide them on this map. There's so many paths, so you could take like a long way across, which obviously weakens the timing you hit at, but if they don't see you coming with the Hellions and the Reaper, then those Roaches can be devastating. And skipping out Ling speed, so this doesn't have to be a super committed push from RagnaroK. You know, he's gone up to 35 workers. It's all just on 1 gas, which is a RagnaroK special. You know, don't pull off gas at all, skip Ling speed, get 7 or 8 Roaches, and then just go back to droning behind it. It's a pressure which, unfortunately for him, Clem is playing safe and building a Banshee.
Yeah, Clem is getting that Banshee up, the cloak on the way. I mean, Clem is just making sure he's not going to fall to something like this. And we'll see what he does with that first Banshee again to recall the earlier series. This was again Cure, you know, realizing that Dark could send Roaches so many different ways, so he kept the Banshee back. Clem confirms the Roaches with these Hellions as well, so gets that confirmation is great. Even going to get a full scout on the numbers, so knows exactly what's coming his way, roughly what direction they're heading in. That actually gives him somewhere to get that Banshee to.
There is still a scenario here where the Banshees move out, get halfway across the map as the Roaches arrive. It's unlikely, as the Roaches have been spotted. The bunker is on the way. The second Banshee's already on the way, so it seems like this is timing out rather well for Clem. RagnaroK already building more workers behind it, and he's just going to back straight off. But a very good start for Clem here, who can now cancel that bunker if he chooses to. Did lose 2 Hellions, a little sloppy for Clem.
I was going to say, the idea of coming forward and being aggressive and like getting more damage on the Roaches is nice, but losing 2 Hellions is so unnecessary because you could have got those hurt ones back, you could have repaired them, or just kept them in the back even. Yeah, for Clem, who we really praised the micro of, that's something which shouldn't have happened.
Oh, he's playing mech. He's got 2 more factories already.
Okay.
Oh, we're finally seeing it. People have been complaining so much. This is a long map where Bio struggles, but mech actually enjoys big maps. The more space you have to kite with your Cyclones, the more effective they are. You know what's funny is RagnaroK's got on Lair and Baneling Nest. Well, doesn't even have Ling speed started yet, mate.
Man, I mean, you can count the number of times Clem's played mech on like one hand, I feel like sometimes. You know, he played against Reynold that one time in the ESL Europe. Like, it's just not a common thing. He's going to go Hyperflight Rotors as well, and Clem And to me, this just says that the Cyclones really are something that these guys believe in, and Clem's like, man, I'm in a little bit of trouble in this event. You know, time to stop bringing out anything and everything, and yeah, happy to mech it up, apparently.
Spire before Ling Speed. RagnaroK built a few more roaches to help defend those Hellions. And he's going to try and go Mutas. Now, I've been waiting because nobody has shown the Mutas really in the games I've seen versus the Cyclone, you know, Hellion Banshee battle mech. The differences for those who haven't been following the patch changes. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Roasty toasty.
Okay, 5 workers, not so bad. Of course, Hellions are more expendable right now when you're playing mech, but you don't want to make it obvious either because RagnaroK's still a little in the dark. Well, he sees an extra Banshee now, that might tip him off.
Yeah, definitely might. Roach speed starts up, Ling speed, Evo chamber, and the Spire on the way. So the difference is the Cyclones will automatically prioritize locking onto air units that are capable of attacking them over ground units. So in the past, you'd always accidentally waste all your lock-ons on the Zerglings, and the Mutas would just kill all your Cyclones. So it felt really bad because it was an issue with the AI of the units essentially. You also have 0.5 bonus Cyclone lock-on range. Just that little bit of extra Cyclone lock-on range makes them much more annoying to deal with.
Yep, absolutely, as these Banshees going to back it up through the center, and the Hellions go back around the other side. Our Spire's about to be done, and RagnaroK is about to be able to set his Mutas onto the map. But yeah, I feel like Clem's going to be fairly well set against this. Cyclone count's coming up, Magfield's on the way in, and just excited to see this, man. It's not something we've really seen a lot of. We saw a lot of people trying this stuff out, you know, in the pre-patch and the balance mod and everything, but I feel like it's something that the Terrans have hidden away just a little bit in that little lead up to Katowice.
Yeah, very curious to see how it goes. The Cyclones kill Ravagers, Queens, and Mutalisks a little bit faster now, as Magfield is going to be kicking in a few seconds and giving them a big boost to that damage, and already starting to get up front. The Mutas are coming out as well. Banshee's going to try and fly in, but of course Mutas will be able to deal with them pretty effectively. It's just hard to chase them down because they outrun Overseers.
Yeah, they're so fast. And he's going to sneak away here, so a few drones get away, and Clem's is going to try and keep leveraging this into his favor as the Cyclones with the Magfield will be able to keep pushing at the front. The Hellions to buff for them. And of course, they don't do as well against Roaches as, counterattack's going to catch a couple Cyclones. Units not in high enough numbers here defensively for Clem. And these Roaches, with their speed, able to start getting on top. But maybe that was a bit of a mistake as they're not quite winning out. And finally, we're going to see RagnaroK get onto that mineral line. Probably could have done that a bit sooner, but was busy. Mutas hit the main base. No turret preparation. Clem still unaware of these. And he is just not ready for this. So this could add up, and this could put him extremely far behind.
RagnaroK is just so cheeky. The way he moves his units, he's so good at surprising his opponents. I feel like on paper, RagnaroK is often not in an amazing position, but it's the way he hides his units, strikes at the exact correct position where his opponent's not ready for it, and he turns disadvantage to advantage. He plays it so very nicely. The Mutas getting 11 worker kills and slowing down all those factories. This puts Clem in a bit of a corner, and I wonder what the follow-up is for RagnaroK. He seems to not be continuing Muta production. Uh-oh, big push coming here for Clem. He wants to join his army up and actually take the fight to the Zerg side of the map.
Interesting choice. I mean, these Mutas are starting to get shot down. There was never a load of them, so losing 2 or 3 is actually pretty significant to RagnaroK's efforts with them. The Banshee's going straight across, and let's see if they can find an opportunity, because the Mutas obviously won't be able to deflect them, so a good chance for the Mutas, for the Banshees. The Mutas will still be just as annoying as they can be. Try and force Clem to pull back a little. And we'll see where else Clem's army is at very soon. There it is, dead center. We're going to start getting some lock-ons and trading out.
He needs scans, and RagnaroK just needs to buy time. He needs Vipers desperately. Parasitic Bomb, Abduct, of course, to deal with Cyclones and the Banshees is amazing. He's trying to go into Hydralisk tech. Potentially Lurkers will come in as well, which are very good versus this comp. But he's not there yet. Just Roaches, Ravagers, and Queens. And you can see those Cyclone lock-ons doing very good damage, as will the Banshees. Picking off the Ravagers. Nice focus fire for Clem.
Yeah, getting rid of those, getting rid of the potential corrosive bars. Less for him to micro against, of course, as he's going to do the same again. Gets that last Ravager here, and that's just expensive for RagnaroK. Instant cancel on this base, and Clem just poking in and out and getting a lot done. Rallying across the map still just Hellion Cyclone. Not looking to anything else, no siege tank backline, just these aggressive battle mech focused units.
Which is actually the right way to play, because with Vipers on the way, they do even better versus things like tanks or Thors. But as it is, the Cyclone Hellion trading really aggressively. This is exactly what Clem needs to do. He doesn't know the Vipers are on the way, but he can assume that there are better units on the way. And right now is a window where he has the tech advantage. He's getting good trades. He's got to keep it up. Once the Vipers start abducting, RagnaroK is going to get super cost efficient. But right now, Clem is the one in the driver's seat.
Yes, he is. The Banshees are just keeping persistent damage out on the left side as well. They're going to rotate around away from the Queens a little bit, maybe get some extra shots on these Roaches. And again, just the Cyclones are always up in the face of those Roaches. And Clem with the supply lead at the moment. We've got Hydras coming up. I don't feel like the Hydra's immediately going to do too much. Obviously, they could be used against the Banshees, but not going to help anymore against the Cyclones, and really the Roaches are.
Knocked back to 4 bases is RagnaroK. The scans come out, and a couple barracks starting. So Clem wants to go into Ghosts. EMPs to deal with the Vipers, a very clever idea. Banshees, though, very low right now. He's going to look for some more trades. Catching those Queens is big.
Getting rid of a bunch of those, and again, we do have the Vipers out, and this is the first time we're going to see them, so abducts on the Cyclones. Finally, RagnaroK can deny some of the efficiency that has really been a staple of Clem throughout the last few minutes, and that's going to be now a constant for RagnaroK. Those abducts have so much potential against the Cyclones. We're going to fight here. We're just going to commit in. Wow, big move from RagnaroK. Continue to chase up, and Clem's happy to take it.
Yeah, he does lose quite a few Cyclones, but with the energy depleted on the Vipers, definitely wanting to pull back for the moment is RagnaroK. 2-2s on the way, as well as Hydraless movement speed, building more Roaches and Hydras. A rather simple core to his army, but the Vipers, of course, being the big game changers. Clem is now adding tanks in, as well as the double armory. You might wonder, why is that so late? But of course, most of his damage has been from Cyclones, and their lock-on does not benefit from upgrades. So the delayed upgrades only after he's on 5 base, a really clever play from Clem to try and maximize what he could get done with the early momentum.
Yep, here's RagnaroK's first-person view for a few moments as he repowers the Vipers. He's basically getting set, having to deal with some of this harassment, getting his units positioned, and just seeing, not as much flicking around the screen as when we, jumped into Clem earlier, but still pretty fast with those clicks and just really focusing on that army and where he wants to position it. You can really see he's limited on vision in a big way as well. Like, he only really sees his bases, and a couple of bases aren't really up yet, so he doesn't have a lot of vision up in that top right side. So yeah, Clem's gotten quite constrained on the map for Zerg.
Indeed. Ghosts and tanks coming in now. Tanks annihilate this army if you can protect them from the Vipers. And the Ghosts are coming out. Roach Hydra in a big mass. Not the highest tech army for either side. Mass Cyclone Alien versus Mass Roach Hydra. Great Aspire getting ready, as well as Broodlords can also be quite effective. And that Banshee just going to pick off a bunch of drones, forces a Parasitic Bomb out before it does go down. 85 workers to 85. Both sides with a bit of bank building up and a lot of money coming in.
Yeah, Clem gets a tank here. We'll have the Cyclones to help chase these Roaches down. And like you say, with the Ghost coming in, I'm really excited because obviously for Clem, that's going to be a real big staple of his army composition now. And again, another massive window to just find in so many good trades.
Here we go, Cyclone Hellion chasing on the north side. Roaches going down. Lots of them are falling, and this is, of course, what happens whenever you get chased down by Battlemech. That Speary mobility is good, but of course, if you ever get caught by the sandwich, the Cyclone Hellion can just get absolutely crushed. And there we go, RagnaroK's coming in from the left side. He's going to close in on this. There's no retreat for Clem. That army's going to get taken out.
I mean, Clem is running onto Crypt to try and find an escape. That's how bad it is for him. But he is also in the bottom left-hand side of the map. He's got a massive position over here. So RagnaroK makes a great move on one side. Clem makes a great move on another, denies this base. He's got Hellions that end up in this mineral line for a few drones as well. So that attack turned into something. And he's still got one that's just going to roast away at a few extra drones. So damage being dealt. And Clem's bottom left-hand army is now getting away, so it goes untouched on the escape.
Oh, man. Oh, damn. Anyone call for some barbecue? That's a bit of extra damage RagnaroK cannot afford. He keeps losing bases as well. Blinding Clouds coming in. Those Ghosts not quite able to get the EMPs out initially. But extra Blinding Clouds coming in from behind as well. It's a lot of Hydras closing on this position. Clem's supply is dropping right now. He's in trouble.
He has just had a horrible fight. RagnaroK actually surrounded this army. It looked like Clem was away free up this left side, but he hesitated. He stopped. He thought maybe I can go again. And RagnaroK jumps on him. No EMPs landed. The tanks weren't sieged up preemptively, and when they did siege, obviously, what happens? Blinding Clouds shuts them down completely. And now you've got a bit of a push going as RagnaroK, as Clem gets reset, and rebuilding his mech is slow and steady.
He's built some Thors now, going Thor, tank, Hellback, Ghost, so it's going to be more of a generic Ghost mech late game that Clem's swapping to. I like that he swapped off the Cyclones now. That is a good move, but of course, being outsupplied right now can cause him some issues. RagnaroK, he's adding Banelings to bust through planetaries and defensive positions. It's not the most cost-efficient army, though, and RagnaroK's income, dude, it's not that high. Losing these bases that keep dropping for him, he's got no bank. Clem's Remax. I feel like Banelings are just not a cost-efficient composition, and because of that, I'm worried. No melee upgrades, that he's actually going to be losing the trades if he starts throwing 50 Banelings away just to do an attack.
That's a very interesting part of this, as we do see. Well, here we go. One attack up this right side. Going to aim for this orbital. Tanks will be able to start sieging up. The Ghosts would love to get some leading EMPs on those Vipers. That's why the Vipers are lurking back. And yeah, a bit of back and forth, because then the Banelings push the Ghosts back. And in the end, the Vipers don't really get to do anything at all. feels like RagnaroK just loses out here, and of course Clem still has that chase potential as RagnaroK retreats.
That was really good that only 6 SCVs went down, didn't lose any commands, and as Clem is locking on some of these units, RagnaroK's a scrappy player though. Remember, whenever he stepped into RagnaroK's territory, there's always the chance RagnaroK turns around and makes it very difficult for him. No Banelings though. Banelings are so good against the Ghosts Hellback clumped up. You need Banelings. You get Banelings in the middle of that and you will smash. He's making 36 more right now, but a lot of Hydraling already went down. I worry he doesn't have enough Hydras left after that fight. He's given up too much ground. The Banelings coming in.
They're going to come in from the bottom left, rolling on through. Blinding Clouds to stop the tanks from shutting them down, and he is going to have a choice of what he connects on. Kind of just lingering, doesn't go onto the Ghost in the back, which I'm kind of surprised about. He doesn't have enough at all, so Clem just cleans it up. I feel like those Banes maybe could have killed some Ghosts, but probably wouldn't have made the difference at the end of the day, as Clem makes it happen with some mech on Grezvan, bringing this series back to 1-1.
Oh, I love to see it. I feel like even when it's versus mech, RagnaroK does his trademark move, which is to build a RagnaroK of Banelings. Yeah. How many is a RagnaroK, you may ask? It's too many. He will always make the most obscene balls of Banelings and just roll them in, and sometimes it wipes the opponent out. Sometimes, like in that last scenario, too many units spreading out too well, no supporting army, and the Banelings just can't get it done on their own.
Man, it just like 2 minutes ago, we also had that fight where it's like, oh my god, Clem lost so much, right? And those Hydras were surrounding, but Clem able to turn it around there, and we get into a Game 3, and man, a massive Game 3 already here in Group A. It feels like this could be, you know, 2 players that potentially battle for 3rd place in this group, right? Depending on other results. Clem's already had some adversity. RagnaroK got through knee, but there's a long way to go. It feels like this one's so important for these guys to have a good future in the next couple of days of group stages.
It really is, Wardy. I mean, he's the king of Europe. He's so consistent at taking down Big Gabe, Showtime, you know, Reina, Serral, these absolute monsters. But it's a monkey on his shoulder, is the inability to turn that into a big premier tournament, you know, win when you've got the best of the best in the overall world there. These Korean players especially have traditionally been the thorn in his side, right? It's the tricky guys like RagnaroK, some of those clever Protoss builds he runs into, not to mention the Korean TVTs that are probably his biggest nemesis of all.
Absolutely, I was just watching the camera on Clem do it.
You can't look at him for too long. It's like the sun, he shines too bright. You'll go blind if you look at him for too long.
He's damaging the camera lens! Quick turn away, reset. Alright, get us in game, guys, before these cameras break due to the sheer power of the micro this man contains. In the bottom right-hand side, it's Dragon Scales to round out this series. A red Terran player from Team Liquid is Clem.
And his opponent in the bot, in the top left of Dragon Scales, representing Alpha X. He's a very creative Zerg. It's RagnaroK. You know, finally making that GSL Finals versus Maru was such a momentous occasion for him. And it was, on paper, the worst matchup possible. Yeah. He made a decent account of himself in some of those games, but still making a GSL Finals in of itself is, of course, a fantastic achievement. And RagnaroK is still being underestimated by a lot of players out there. They're still saying, you know, not that worried about him, but I think Game 1 is a huge confidence booster for his form going into this tournament. Yeah. He dealt with a lot of aggression, a lot of multi-prong, things were getting messy, and he maintained pace and overwhelmed Clem.
You know, one of my gripes with RagnaroK a lot of the time was his consistency, right? And some days he looked great, and then other days it's like, oh god, what are we doing? And lately the consistency has gone up from him, right? He's been able to come to event after event, bringing a very good form, just very solid builds, having a good idea of what he wanted to do, and executing very well in general. So, yeah, really glad to see him kind of being able to up the ante in that regard, and see if he can keep it going here, of course. Big match, we've talked about it a lot already, and it's not changed since Game 1 or 2.
It's so stressful maintaining that level of consistency, you know, at such a peak of performance, because everybody's studying each other. All your builds are out there public, and, you know, you're kind of trying to just randomize what you do, so you can't be predicted, but you're also trying to study your opponents and counter them. And, you know, for some players, you're just trying to basically overwhelm them with the raw force of your ability at the game, which is, of course, a bit more what Clem kind of factors in. He's a little bit more of the overwhelm you with, as you said, the sheer might of his micro.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the one thing about Clem, right? He is kind of predictable, at least what sort of style he's going to play. Maybe sometimes, you know, he switches up a bit. I mean, the mech is probably the biggest switch up we've seen from Clem in months upon months.
I mean, I've always said it's so scary if you don't know if a Terran's going to play bio or mech, right? Like, Gumiho, is not that great at bio, a lot of players would say, but he still wins a lot of games with bio because, you know, the other half of the games is like mech, in the past at least anyway. So it's really interesting to see if Clem can add this depth to his play by threatening that. Could be very effective and gets a Zergling kill, not too bad. I wonder, is this a good map for mech? It's long, generally, pretty good for mech, but a lot of choke points and stuff where maybe it's a little harder to close in with the Cyclones, and the base is not quite as spread out, I believe, as Gressman, so I don't really know what the pro players' kind of view is on which maps are good for it, which ones are bad. But I imagine Gressman and Altitude are probably the two main maps where the Terrans are going to be going for the battle mech.
Altitude's just a map I think you insta-veto though, right? I guess if you have to play it, sure, but yeah, that is not one you really want to end up on a lot of the time.
I mean, I think it kind of plays to the strengths of it though. Like, so
for mech
for the battle mech, because there's so much
it is very open.
Yeah, yeah.
Lots of space to work with.
Yeah, which kind of favors the more mobile, aggressive player.
It could be very interesting then if Mech is going to make a big thing of this tournament. Is Clem going to do something he does sometimes, which is trying to get some drones early? Now, let's see what he can do, because, you know, giving up these early Hellions is a commitment. You need, what, 3-4 workers at least to be happy with this, and it looks as though he's easily going to get 3, and obviously potential for 4.
You already got
Hellion runs
a
around.
few Zerglings as well, so I think overall that's worth it. You know, an Evo chamber as well, right? Like, it was a cancel, but still. Oh, and he's going to keep driving in.
Whoa. Okay,
this might be a little overly aggressive. Let's see how RagnaroK handles it.
Yeah, if he turned around a moment sooner and didn't lose that one Hellion, he just gets an extra drone pull. I like it, but the extra Hellion going down is a bit painful. Probably a move he makes based on the fact that, hey, I killed a few Lings, right? So you maybe aren't ready for the next 2 Hellions. But yeah, the Queens are able to deal with it.
As it is, I think it's alright. He's continuing Hellion and Banshee production behind it. And of course, those Banshees already popping onto the field. Stim is on the way here. And is that Stim before 3rd Command Center? Interesting.
Yeah. That's a bit of a funky one, isn't it? So Clem going to be able to be a bit more aggressive a little bit earlier in the game, right? Maybe take some momentum and then expand off the back of that one. And we'll see how the Banshees do as well, as they'll be into play soon. And the 3rd CC going to come down in that wall off. You don't see that a lot for Clem because, again, he's so used to just taking that 3rd CC super quickly.
It's a much slower build-up for him, so he kind of needs to get more damage than in the previous games with this. Needs to at least force more of a response out of RagnaroK. Lings are well positioned, the Queens are split, and it's a very fast lair. I think RagnaroK really wants to play Mutalisks here.
Yeah, I could see that, right? I mean, what else are you going to do with this fast of a lair? Spire seems to be the obvious option, and obviously it covers you well in case he's trying to go into a lot of Banshees. But against someone who has Stim so quickly, against those Mutas, if he gets a good amount of Marines up, it could be quite scary if RagnaroK puts all of his eggs into that Spire. The defensive capabilities of RagnaroK really takes a big tumble as Clem very aggressive, and he's going to get punished hard.
Yeah, 2-3 Hellions going down. Really nice moves there by RagnaroK, just setting up the trap and then springing it when Clem steps in too deep in his territory. Spire does go down behind that, and RagnaroK wants to play that Mutiling Bane. I think it's a great way to do this, because remember what I said? It's not great if it's a small map. This is a long map. It's not great if he's going Widow Mines. He's going tanks. And this is something that's kind of predictable with Clem in the last 6 months of play. He loves to open siege tanks. He very rarely opens Widow Mines anymore. Mutas are fantastic against this opening.
Yes, they really are. Just able to shut down the Banshees, able to deal with the Medivacs and the tanks very easily. Let's see if he can just make sure he has enough ready to go for the first wave, because that first wave oftentimes is going to be the big difficulty here, as Clem really depowering himself by losing these Hellions. If he has 6 Hellions against that first wave of Lings and stuff, when there's not as many Lings because it's more about the Mutas, could be quite scary on the ground, but he has just been losing out on units pretty much throughout this game.
Baneling speed starting up there behind that as well. 4th base is, of course, on the way as the Terran 3rd is floating on out there. Clem, I mean, there's 2 things this can go terribly wrong for him. One is if basically he does a big push and obviously the Mutas, you know, just pick off the tanks and backstab and do damage. The other one that I'm a bit more scared of is if he loses his first Medivacs and Marines because he doesn't know the Spire and the Mutas are coming.
Yeah. He's going to try for the 4th base here, and he is going to be able to get a cancel on that easily. Overlord to the left side goes down as well. He spots the Spire with the Banshee. So that one Banshee that left itself alive got into the main big. Here's a counterattack. If he had the Hellion still, this wouldn't be as much of a factor, but something RagnaroK can do better than usual. he still has been losing drones. His mutas are scouted, so Clem has turrets to prepare, and it means he won't leave his army exposed on the map.
100%. I mean, this is so much better for him, right? He's got the damage done on the other side as well with those drones. Losing your fourth, it stops your ability to explode behind these 9 mutas in terms of economy. And I think this is a fantastic position for Clem to be in. 3 more barracks going down at the front. Mutas do turn around and take a good fight. I love the pullback on the weak mutalist. Nice micro by RagnaroK. But a Clem that is in no way surprised by this and has cancelled your 4th base is a Clem who is no doubt setting up to really kick butt in this scenario. I think we'll be seeing Widow Mines and Thors added into the mix. Is it just mass mutiling Bane? Is there Burrow added in? Does he try to transition to Lurkers? I wonder if there's any special source with this.
Yeah, there's obviously just different ways to kind of play this out here still as RagnaroK, as he's going hunting for these SCVs, slowing down this barracks production. I'm just going to be seeing Clem was through the middle of the map, has turned around a little bit, so these mutas are doing their job, getting SCVs, slowing Clem's aggression down. The idea with these mutas is obviously do as much as he can here, but still get back in time to deal with the main force. And man, he's getting a lot of these Marines. He's really committing through for them. Some mutas will go down, but Clem's main army actually came back home to deal with this threat.
Yeah, nice move by RagnaroK. Yes, 3 Mutalisks died, but I think it's worth it in that scenario. Oh, another muta goes down. Good focus fire. Clem grabbing those Marines as they pop and getting them. Same time, the tank goes down to the high ground. That was the safety anchor there. And Clem is building more tanks. Not only that, he built those 8 barracks at the 3rd in vision of RagnaroK. So RagnaroK is very aware of the fact that Clem would like to just shove across the map and kill him.
Oh, and Clem's just letting a few units go here and there, so that's a little bit scary. A few Marines coming around the side. Gotta be careful, man. If a few Lings show up right now, then these Marines are just dead, and there they are, coming from the north side. They do get back to the rest of the force, though. Clem's gonna have a fight here. The tanks will get sieged. They need to do well against these Balins. He gets a good first shot off. The Banes will not reach any of the Marines, and Clem takes a big fight with 1-1 in his favor.
Both tanks survive just barely as well. 2-2's on the way. Clem's found the new 4th base in the top right, and after losing all those units, Clem realizes he can take it out. RagnaroK has to give it up. RagnaroK is in a tough position. He's down in the upgrades. He's lost quite a lot of his units there. He's got to keep using his mobility. I want to see more Ling backstabs, not just mutas harassing, but also Lings rolling in. He's going to need to use the mobility to his advantage.
Clem recognizing as well that this was not going to be an attempt to bust his army, so he can go fully onto that base, left some of his reinforcements at home, and was able to push those mutas away for now. And Clem taking a supply lead at a critical moment when you're just building the momentum up with these 8 racks. And Clem, something he does a lot more than others when you hate racks, this is the faster 4th base, right? Like, It's not fast, but it's something that Clem puts down before anyone else would.
Yeah, a lot of people use this more like an all-in. It's like 3 base or die trying. Clem is like, no, we'll take a 4th. I'll add a 2nd factory. I will work my way into a more normal game. I'm just using this momentum to deny your bases in your economy. RagnaroK on 88 workers, but only on 4 bases, so he doesn't really have enough mineral patches to mine from effectively with them. This is a nice move, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of Ling muta, and obviously only a few unprotected Marines over here. The SCV's even trying to add to this fight. Now they're going to have to go running, but Clem is across the map, and he's going to get himself a lot of drones, overlords, and that base. So this is going to turn into a weird scenario. RagnaroK, does he have any Balins ready? He's morphing in 4, but honestly, he's got 18, and yeah, there they are.
He shouldn't chase though. Good pullback by RagnaroK. If he chased into the tanks, then Clem's open to just dive into his base and finish it. But RagnaroK's playing so smart, going for the 3rd command center, keeping his Baneling count up at home. He's rebuilding Overlord, so a little unfortunate he got a supply block. Nice repair for Clem. He saves the command center. That is absolutely crucial.
And he gets Marines in the natural, going to force the Ling Bane to run through the siege tanks to be able to come and defend against these Marines now. So that's going to be a big deal. The mutas probably have to come back and deal with these tanks. There's a lot of Marines here though still, and Clem is set up to take this fight. It is 2-2 to 1-1. That will help Clem out here as RagnaroK needs to find a way to dislodge this position. He can't let Clem keep dealing damage the way he is right now. The mutas went back across the map though, and he's just going to lose out on them. Clem defends that, and these drones are stuck in the corner. Natural expansion down, and Clem in fantastic position if he can just keep holding on to this location.
Those tanks are actually very exposed. I'd like to see RagnaroK dive on them, but he doesn't seem to realize that the Marines are so far back behind. I think he could have removed this position by now, but he's been so intimidated by Clem's presence and the pace of the action. He's going for the backstab, but Clem's already there as well. And Clem scouting those mutas early, going into the 8 barracks. He has driven this wedge in between RagnaroK's economy. He also killed his lair as well. His tech is getting taken out. RagnaroK's gonna have to pull the trigger, but he doesn't have the numbers.
I know, I really just disagree with how he did this, right? The mutas came back, he's like, actually no, I'm gonna go back to harass, and he just ping-ponged one side of the map to the other way too often, and Clem just won on every single side. Clem comes back from a tough first game loss, takes 2 in a row with mech and bio, more versatility than we've seen from him in a long time, and gets himself a massive win to really keep the Katowice hopes alive after day 1.